Ladies and gentlemen, we're here, episode 56, and then
56.
some. Come on, Brad, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Today is a good day. And threw some discs out in the yard today before coming in to film the podcast. Have a great sponsor today. Have a great guest. Interesting guest. I did just see his bag. I'm very curious to see how the discs I threw fit in there, but I think we definitely made, Robbie definitely made some good suggestions. We'll see how they take into Spencer's bag today.
Absolutely. So I'm very curious. This is one of the more intriguing bags that I've seen in quite some time. So very excited for you guys to check it out. But before we dive into our time with Spencer, got to take a second to talk about today's sponsor, BetterHelp.
All right, Foundation Nation, is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human, which we all are, who lives in this crazy world, is going through a hard time, therapy can give you a tool to approach your life in a very different way. That's why I'm personally excited. We're all excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible, and that it's an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, and especially when you're limited to options in your area. You know, Lynchburg's not a huge area. We're a little bit bigger. I know for areas like where we came from, where my family came from, there was not even a therapist for like an hour of a radius. So it's important to give you that easy access to a therapist.
Yeah, because BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online and it's remote. And so by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days. That easy. I think that it's so hard to like think about reaching out for help, asking for help, and therapy can help so many different things. And so the ease of using this platform to do that, incredible. So it's as easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in the description, betterhelp.com/foundation disc golf. That's betterhelp.com/foundation disc golf for you to go ahead and get started and get signed up to get matched. Clicking that link not only helps support the channel, but it gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so that you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps. Nothing like having an easier way to trial this out and see how it's working for you and have that opportunity. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, and you know, I don't know, it's been a minute since I've been in the dating scene. I don't know about you, Brett. But if you really don't fit with that therapist, which is honestly a very common thing when it comes to therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about your insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. I think it's incredible that it's not just, oh man, I got to try for this month. I didn't connect with my therapist. Now I'm just walking away from therapy. BetterHelp does such an incredible job of making sure that you get the help you're looking for from the right person within their network.
Yeah. And hey, we like to keep it real in this podcast. So here it is publicly. I recently got diagnosed with ADHD. It's been a whole learning process for me. It makes a lot of sense for my life. And, you know, it was recommended to me that I find a cognitive therapist. Well, I work a lot. I have a family. It's hard to find access. I don't want to give up work time or family time to go do that. But it was very easy. And I heard ads for BetterHelp on a ton of my favorite podcasts. So I actually gave it a try before BetterHelp even reached out to Foundation. So I gave it a try. I got matched with a cognitive therapist. I did their questionnaire. It was very accurate. It gave me a therapist. I didn't even have to look for a second one. The first one was such a great match for me. It's helped me a ton personally. Just, you know, again, learning about what I'm dealing with, learning strategies to, you know, make the best out of my life and make myself a better person. Listen, therapy does not mean you have a problem. Therapy means you want to make yourself better. And you want to make the life of those around you better. And BetterHelp is a great way to do that. So make sure if you're struggling or you're curious or you just want someone to talk to or need someone to talk to and you don't have it, make sure you consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description. Visit betterhelp.com/foundation disc golf. That's betterhelp.com/foundation disc golf. Thanks, BetterHelp. We appreciate you supporting the channel.
Welcome to the podcast coming from, I believe, the North. Spencer, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Excited to be on. Excited for episode 56.
Heck yeah.
Come on, guys.
We're always here.
Unprompted. We got to let you guys know this. So when we record in segments. So it's like, all right, so we start the show, we record the intro, then we bring the guest in, and then we clap our way out, and then we take a little like 60-second break, and then we record the outro. And then
Mhm.
Silas, being the wizard that he is, loops it all together. You guys have no idea. Welcome to Behind the Curtain. My name's Oz. So we made the joke again in the intro, and Spencer comes into the lobby, and as soon as he gets in, he's like, glad to be on episode 56. Guys, kindred spirit. So I am so glad that listeners are like leaning into the joke. I cannot wait for the first time that like I meet someone for the first time and they are a listener of the show and they're like, hey man, really enjoyed episode 56.
That
we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know. You're the
That's
real
solid.
ones.
Yeah.
So Spencer, what part of the country are you coming to us from?
I'm from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
Awesome.
Go Sabres or
It's Bills. It's a Bill city now. They're killing it.
Okay. Well, that answers. Brad knows what questions that answers all of our questions. Okay,
that answers all my questions.
I love it.
All right. Well, thanks for being on In the Bag. It was nice to see you.
No, awesome. Well, Spencer, your bag highly intriguing to me. And you're rocking a mold that I think lots of people listening to this being more COVID golfers, this disc has not been that popular. And by not been that popular, I genuinely feel like they haven't made a run of them since pre-COVID. And that could be a stretch, but you're going to have to let me know on that when we get there.
Okay.
So, before we dive into your bag, we want to get to know you as a player. So a couple of questions. How long have you been playing?
So I've been playing for about 5 years now. I came from ball golf, and then my mom got me like a little mini set for around the house. So I did that for a couple of years before I actually found a course and got some discs. So I'm pre-COVID, but not too far before pre-COVID, or not too far before COVID.
Yeah. No, I love the idea of a mini set around the house. That is a hilarious introduction into disc golf. So well played on that, Mom. Second question, if we put you in a field and we said, all right, Spencer, we're going to put a basket X amount of feet away from you, how far do you feel like you can consistently reach it on a backhand and a forehand?
So backhand, I'll gotta say about 350. I know I could definitely get it out there a little bit more consistently, maybe about 380, but for accuracy's sake, I'd say about 350.
Okay. And then forehand?
So forehand, I've been injured all season. I've had a shoulder injury, so I haven't really been throwing any power forehands. I'm kind of doing like sub 200 feet.
Okay.
And then I'm working on a lefty to try and push it out there, lefty backhand.
Okay. So as someone with good distance on the backhand already, how easy has it been moving to a lefty? Or is it really tough?
It is really tough. I played a league last night. We got to the last hole. It's like a little dinky, like maybe 100 footer, and it goes from left to right. And I'm like, oh, like told my partner, hey, throw it. If you're parked, I'm going to try lefty. And I threw it 100 feet up a hill directly left of me. So it's been tough. It's work in progress for sure.
That's fair. I am left-handed in life, but I play sports right-handed. The only sports that I ever played left-handed was baseball. And I only did it as a switch pitcher. So like that is my only like ambidextrous moment of my life. But one of my proudest moments in disc golf is when we shot a video of Rip Revenge recently with Hunter and Trevor, and Hunter kept playing throw lefties on me like over and over again, and they all went really well. I was like, I don't know where this is coming from, but we'll take it. So it's definitely a fun challenge. If you're a listener and you've never tried playing or throwing with your offhand before, get ready to ride the thunder. Super fun. Okay, so that's distance. So let's talk putting. We put you on the putting green, Spencer, and we said, hey, we're going to line you up 10 putts at 15 feet, 10 putts at 25, and 10 putts at 40 feet. How many are you making at each station?
So for 15, I know I'm going to doink at least one. So I'm going to go 9. 25 feet, if I'm putting for birdie, I'm making like 4, but if I'm putting for par or bogey, I'm making 8 or 9 for
Okay.
sure. There's definitely a big difference there. And then
Totally.
for 40 footers, probably about 3.
Okay. Fantastic. Are you a spinner or pusher? Or
I used to
living in
be
the
a
middle?
pusher, and then my putt completely broke, so I switched to spin putting.
Okay. Fantastic. Our last question, what would you say is the biggest strength of your game?
I gotta say approach shots and throwing putters. My home course is a pretty long course, so when I was first coming up and not throwing 300 yet, I always had to throw like those little approach shots. So I got really good at that early on, and it's stayed.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to dive into your bag and we're going to talk. Let's start. What do you think, Brad? Do we start putters and then move up and come back, or start high and come low?
I think we start high and come low, because as someone who says, hey, I throw putters really well and upshots, I don't see a whole lot of putters. So I'm curious to see what that looks like for you. So let's maybe start with the race.
Okay. So when hopefully Silas putting the bag up on the screen for you visual watchers.
Boom. Look, did you
but
see it just pop up?
Boom. It's there. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Boom. It's
we're
away.
cooking.
Boom.
We're cooking.
It's back.
And then, so looking at this bag, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13 discs in your bag.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of bag do you carry?
I have a upper park shift.
Okay. So
if you could beep that up, please. Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. It could carry more, right? Like the shift can carry more.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Just not as a like, oh man, we're about to recommend 18 discs for this man. But just checking, because there are some people like who use, let's say, I think the bag's called like an agent or something like that. Like there's a really small dynamic bag that wouldn't be able to hold more discs. And we had another guy come on who had a 10 disc bag, and he's like, I like have a 10 disc bag because I can literally only carry 10 discs. Okay. Yeah. So that's good to help this conversation. At the top of Spencer's bag, you've got 5 wraiths chilling.
Mm-hmm.
First off, was someone saying that a wraith is my favorite distance driver of all time? I love it. I think it's fantastic. Your wraiths seem wildly different than one another.
Oh yeah.
So walk us through the wraiths. I guess start with the most overstable one and get to the flippiest one.
All right. So I have a champ wraith. I think it's like 170. It's like in the between 170 175, and that one just kind of goes straight. It gets some fade. It's nice, reliable in the wind. So just your nice overstable distance driver. Mm-hmm. Then I have a max weight star one that's real pop toppy, and that's been seasoned in through the course of almost about a year. So that gets a nice flip, and then it fades hard, kind of like how Eagles beat in.
Okay. Yeah.
So I got those 2 covered for like more of my Hyzer shots. My next wraith is a PFN star wraith that is more neutral, kind of flips up and kind of drifts over a little bit, and it has a more mellow fade. So that's more of like a woodsy type of shot.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Then I have a 150 gram wraith, which is a Hyzer flip to turn, and I'll throw rollers with that one. It's really good for like low ceiling, like flip up and then ride to the right shots.
Okay.
And that one also goes a mile. That thing goes far.
I love it.
And then the last wraith I have is a 133 gram star wraith, and that one's basically just rollers or just get out of jail shots.
Okay. So why the wraith?
I don't really like the feel of a 12 speed in my hand. I don't know. I have weird hand sizes, so like the wraith fits really comfortably, and obviously you can get them in a vast array of different flights. Mm-hmm. So I've just kind of gravitated towards that.
I love it. Okay. I mean, honestly, that makes a ton of sense. And I love the spread of weights between them. I think a lot of people, and I might even put myself in this, um, a lot of people are going to, rather than writing one mold for that many shot shapes, they're going to say, oh, let me go find I'm going to put a sail here instead of the 133 or something like that. And there's a confidence, I'm sure, that comes with having all of those all be wraiths. And if you lose one, like, you can try to go hunt down another one. Do you have my question would be, because finding lightweight distance drivers can be tough, especially finding 150 gram, 133 gram star wraiths. Do you have backups to your super lightweight wraiths?
I don't have a backup to my 133 gram wraith, but I know, like, I looked at like their Innova's website. They like say like how many more of like this weight range they have, and they got a ton of those in the 150 and the 133. So I should be good.
Okay. Right. Fantastic. I was just having this conversation with another person yesterday talking about lightweight discs, because they were trying to hunt for like 165 gram discs, and they needed like hundreds of each. And I was like, okay, that's curious. And they were like, yeah, it's kind of hard to find those. So that lightweight stuff, I love people using them. I always encourage people to get your backups when you can, because that is heartbreaking when you lose it. All right. So moving on down, do you have any questions about drivers, Brad?
No, not really. I think that was just my question, really. If you had backups, and I guess, can we play out a hypothetical scenario here?
Yeah.
Let's just say, like, you have the worst round of your life. You lose the 150 gram star wraith. You lose the 133 gram. You go on Innova's website. They're sold out, 0-0. Do you scour the internet and try to find more, or at that moment, are you like, maybe I need to jump on like a flippy mold, like two of another flippy mold? What would you do?
I probably, well, I have some lighter weight pharaohs that I would probably put in there for the time being, but I would scour the internet. As you can see with like another mold of mine, it's kind of what I don't mind doing.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Okay. So you're more like, you're set on that. You're like, hey, I want to stay here. I'll do what I can. I'll, sell a kidney if I have to. I want to get me another 133 gram wraith. Okay. Yeah. That is just, again, more information for our recommendation later.
Yeah. And I am very, like, I would say one of the biggest things that keeps me from doing exactly what you have done in your driver category, because I love wraiths, is I do find that higher spin, higher speed rate, especially like the torque that you can put on a forehand pretty naturally. Like as a big forehand thrower, I struggle with the wraiths that eventually, like, they just get too much turn even when thrown like on a good forehand. And so that's where the destroyer really does kind of jump in there for a second. But also, something that you don't even have in your lineup is you don't have any halo wraiths. So
that's true.
You can also tech that up in the stability race as well to a halo wraith. Like, I lost a flippy destroyer in the middle of a video, and when we got back to the car, I just put a halo wraith in my bag for the time being. Same disc. So very curious. Have you tried any halo wraiths?
Yeah, I have. I just I think I put the champ one in there before I got another one after I lost it. So
yeah,
it just, like, if I put a disc in there and it's a mold that I like, I just keep it in there until I lose it, basically. Or it gets too flippy to where I need to put another one and cycle them over.
Totally fair. So let's move on down to the Bear. The Bear, a newer disc. It's only been out for, I think, like 2.5 years, something like that.
Only a year.
Only a year. Okay. So yeah, I was like, I remember throwing a Bear for this show, but I wasn't sure how long they had been out when I threw the Bear. So, okay. So the Bear, before we dive into the Bear, have you ever thrown a stag?
Yes, that's what I threw before the Bear.
Okay.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Okay.
So talk to us about the jump from the stag to the bear and why you landed on the bear.
So I was throwing the stag. I liked it, but I was getting it to like really like Hyzer flip like crazy, and I wanted something more stable. So I think I just stumbled into our local shop, and they had a VIP ice bear first run, and I'm like, oh, what is this? They're like, oh, it's just coming out. I'm like, okay. I look at the numbers, should be a little bit more overstable than the stag, and I grabbed it, and that disc I grabbed that day is still in my bag to this day.
Come on.
Awesome.
Come on. Okay. So between your VIP ice bear and your VIP bear, which one, like, what's the difference in flight between those?
So the VIP ice one is almost approaching Griffin disc status because it gets a good amount of turn before it comes back. Again, like an eagle beats in almost, where it gets some turn, but it still comes back hard.
Yeah.
And then my regular VIP one is more stable.
Okay. Fantastic. So at what distance, if we're talking like, we'll say open field first, if you're in an open field, at what distance are you looking at a bear versus, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and step up to a wraith?
About 330-ish.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit closer, but I can get the bears to about 330.
Okay. So like 300 to 330 is bear range usually?
Yeah, my bear range is a little bit lower, I guess, because I had the next disc I have coming up kind of fits that like 3 to 310.
Okay. Awesome. So, yeah, I find the bears to be incredible. There was a recent run of them, I think, that was it's like the Orbit
Yeah.
VIP
tournament.
ice or something like that. Have you gotten a chance to throw one of those?
No, I've just been chilling. I got a stack of them, so I'm just gonna use them.
Hey, respect. All right.
Well, in the same way with your Wraith, though, I actually pulled it up to look, but they're obviously the tournament Orbit, which is what Robbie's talking about, which is I think going to be pretty overstable. And then they have a VIP Air Bear now too, so that'd be interesting for something a little bit more. If you wanted the more flippy spectrum of that for yourself.
Yeah, I'll be buying that when it comes out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is way to go, West Side. So moving on to your next one, this is the disc that we teased in the beginning that lots of you are going to be like, I'm not seeing this. I will tell you that if I step up and I see someone throw one of these discs on a tee box, I instantly know either A, this person's about to beat me, or B, this person has been playing for some time. So I'm sure you earn the respect of those around you quite often when you pull one of these out. You have a gazelle in your bag.
Not one, but two.
He has two gazelles. And not only that, but when you talk about scouring the internet, I'd imagine hunting down a G-Star gazelle is not an easy task.
Actually, they made a run of them not too long ago, so I think that you could still get them on like some websites.
Okay. So are the champion ones harder to find?
Oh yeah, I stumbled upon somebody selling like Champ Glow gazelles for like $23 a pop, and I just kind of spent like maybe a little bit too much money. But
yeah, you're like, I'll take 6, please.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. I get it, dude. I like in the pig market, and we'll talk because you have a pig in your bag as well. So I'll be curious which ones you throw. But like if I see someone selling 2020 pigs and it's less than $40 a pop, like I don't even think. I just like buy now, please. So wild what we do for the frisbees we love. So you throw the gazelle 6502 flight numbers on a gazelle for those who are not familiar with it. A 6-speed already unique, I would say, other than the Crave. very few 6-speeds are popular on the market. So what drew you to the Gazelle, and what do you do with your Gazelle?
So what initially got me onto the Gazelle was my one buddy from college on our college team. He kind of runs it all. He plays open. He was just throwing this champion Gazelle all over my face, just throwing like 350 dead straight all over me. And I'm like, all right, I gotta try this out. So I ended up getting like, I think he had a pro one that I traded him something for. And I just kind of fell in love. It's a really unique feel in the hand because it's got a bead on the nose of the disc. But ever since then, like all like the old guys that I've run into in leagues or tournaments are like, you have a Gazelle? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's fun.
So
what is it about the Gazelle that you like love? Obviously, it's going to be the flight. What are the first of all? What's the difference in your two Gazelles? Because I've never thrown one. I've only held one in my whole life. What's the difference in the flight for you? And then I guess like what is it about the Gazelle that you're like, I'm the Gazelle guy and I want no other mid for that slot?
So my champion one definitely stays true to those numbers, where it's like 6502. But the G Star one is a Hyzer flip disc for sure. It's more like a leopard, I would say, flight. So I have the like kind of dead straight with a little bit of fade at the end, and then the Hyzer flip action with those. And then I think what kind of drew me over to the Gazelle after throwing it was like the amount of glide it has.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a theme of my bag of like throwing glidey discs. Like the Wraith gets a good glide, Bear is surprisingly glidey, Comet and the Inner Core are both really glidey. So if I could find a disc that glides really well, I'll definitely try and keep it in the bag.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So talk me through distance selection. Like what distance, what's the low end of the threshold that you're like, all right, this is about where like I'm going to make a Gazelle shot work for here. And then we know you mentioned like 310 being about like max end for the Gazelle. Max comfortable. I'm sure you could probably throw it farther than 310, but like golf shot 310.
So like low end, I do use it on like some like 200-foot low ceiling nose up shots, which we tend to have a lot here in Buffalo for some reason. So I use it down there, and I could throw it probably all over that range, just based on height. But I'll kind of go like for like a regular height shot, like I'll go probably 280 to 310.
Okay. Awesome. So let's talk you got one mid range in the bag, and it's a Comet. So very curious to have a Comet all the way over there. What's the Comet do for you?
So it depends on what run you get, obviously, because they've been making them since 1995. So for me, the one I have right now gets a nice Hyzer flip and just goes dead straight and just has like a little finish at the end. I could also throw it flat and let it turn. That's one of my favorite shots to throw, is just a flat turning Comet shot. And then I could still throw it Hyzer on Hyzers and just get the nose up on it, so it'll kind of like just sail to the left.
Okay. Yeah, that feels like a touchy / complicated shot to be throwing. Like a Hyzer nose up, like an intentional Hyzer nose up mid shot. So very, very curious on that. But I can understand, like for the folks who do not have an understable disc that you can, and especially an understable mid that you can just throw flat and watch it slow turn, there are few things that make you feel as pro level as watching a disc just turn on its own, but not burn, just that slow turn. It's like, that's, I think, why we recommend the uplink as much as we do, is because for lots of folks who have never had that ability to throw that shot before, like it almost guarantees it. So Very, very curious. Okay, so let's talk putters then, shall we? That good with you, Brad?
Yep, sounds good. Looks like you're part of the Pig Alliance, the National Pig Alliance
Pig farmers,
Federation.
baby.
So the pig, are you throwing a forehand only, backhand forehand? What are you doing with your pig?
I mostly throw backhand, actually. I'll if I have a forehand shot, Hyzer shot, I usually will try and force a backhand ante on it. But I was coming from a zone originally because I used to be all discraft. Shout out to you, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
But this was before you were playing.
Before you knew better.
Yeah, basically. And I tried a AGL Manzanita in this soft plastic, and I liked how it was overstable and it would stick, but it just didn't quite fit in the hand right. So I looked in my backups of like all the discs I've collected over the years. I'm like, pigs like that, and I tried it out, and it's fine.
I love it. Are you just throwing like a stock R Pro?
Oh yeah.
Okay, fantastic. The there's nothing wrong with the stock R Pros. I think the stock R Pros actually start stupid overstable. They just beat in really fast. So that's awesome to hear for the pig farmers out there. Oink oink. Moving over to the inner core, you have a base plastic and a premium plastic. I'm guessing you putt with the base plastic.
Yep.
Okay. What were you putting with before inner cores came out in base plastic?
I was putting with the Challenger.
Okay. Very interesting.
I can see that. Yeah. So when you're talking about instead of throwing a forehand approach shot with a pig, you're more likely to grab your inner core and force over like a turn, like get your inner core to turn, or are you getting your comet to turn? I mean, what do you for an approach? Like say a 150-foot approach shot, you need to throw a forehand or a left or right shot. Are you grabbing inner core or comet?
I'm grabbing inner core.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think the inner core, in the same way as the uplink, I think touchy like turn shots, you learn those pretty quickly with either of those discs, and I think pretty much anybody can grab one off the shelf and kind of find those approach shots. Again, I think the real skill is like honing them in and giving, knowing what amount of turn you want out of either of those discs, and having control over them. So that's interesting. So obviously the premium inner core came out first. Were you immediately like, I'm going to putt and throw this, and then the base came out and you're like, wow, this is awesome? Or were you just loving the inner core for a throwing putter at first?
So I kind of came to a crossroads with putting where my putt just broke. I was straddle push putting, and I'm like, I need to change something up. So like mid round during like a flex start, first 12 holes, I averaged like an extra 1 or 2 putts per hole. Like it was bad. So then I started spin putting. I birdied like the least birdied hole on the course. It's like a 400-foot up this tiny gap, and I threw a backhand roller to 15 feet. I'm like, I can't mess this up. So I'm going to change it up. And I was looking at online about like more glidey putters for the Challenger. And this was like after the baseline came out. So I'm like, let me try the inner core, and I liked it. And then I always like to throw and putt with the same mold, just for that familiar hand feel. So then I grabbed a baseline, and now I can't find baselines online, except for people selling them for way more on eBay. But so we're waiting for more of those to come out.
Well, I can't say any of the information that I know, but I will say, keep an eye on Foundation. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink, no nudge. So no, I think it's interesting. You know what's funny about your spin putt comment, and this is something I've noticed as someone who's recently switched over to the inner cores after almost 3 years of putting with the same putters. I get a little frustration with the inner core, but I realize it's not the disc, it's me. If I'm not giving the inner core enough spin or like pop out of my hand to get it to rotate, it doesn't fly the way I think it's going to. But the moment I like focus on my form, get the spin out of my hand, I feel like I can putt from like 80 feet. Like I think the glide is really there. but you really have to get the rotation. It really lets you know if you're not getting the rotation out of your hand. Robbie, I know you thrown the intercore before. Maybe you agree or disagree with that statement, but that's what I'm kind of finding with it.
Yeah, because the run of base ones was so small, I actually have never like, other than messing around with Brad's in the warehouse, like I've never like fully played around with the base inner cores and putting with them. But knowing my premium plastic one, like I completely agree. It's one of those, it's very easy to get the glide turned on for that disc. And once it's gliding, I think that's when you mentioned I love glidey discs, it makes complete sense for the inner core to be in there, because I'm just shocked at how Jesse's done it twice with the Dune and the inner core. To me, both just have an insane amount of glide on them. Like get a little air underneath them and just she gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that makes a ton of sense to me.
Okay, awesome. Well, Robbie recommended some discs for you today. We're not in the putter category. We're not in the Wraith category, aka the distance driver category. But he had me throw some mid ranges for you today. So, Robbie, I'm going to show the disc you had me throw, and then maybe walk me through your thought process on why you had me throw these discs. Because if I'm being honest, I'm a little confused on where these fit. But I know you have an idea, as you always do. So we have the Barry from Clash. And then we also have the MD3 from Discmania.
So when I told Brad, I almost want to read like what I sent Brad for testing for this, because I wanted him to like push the limits of what these discs can do. So I had messaged Spencer a little bit before asking like, hey, talk about throwing putters, and you only got 2 putters in the bag. And Spencer had mentioned that he feels very confident with just those 2 discs. So I was looking at that and I'm like, okay. So we got the comment on the far side. So if you're looking at the graph, there's this chasm right here in the middle. And so I think you could look at the Gazelle and be like, oh, it flies like a mid-range, but it also kind of flies fairway driver-ish. So I was looking at that spot, but I said, you're looking for something, like when I texted Brad, you're looking for something that can stand on its own as well as fight into a well-established pack. And we were looking for mids, not gyro or not super shallow. That was another thing, Spencer, you had said in terms of like hand feel and whatnot. And the super shallow makes sense because I feel like a lot of glidey discs do have a little depth to them. So that was the reason where we pushed in that direction. So I want to talk about what the discs were flying like to see how they can fit in, because I still do have like an idea in mind. But
yeah, I think I do too. And I guess I'm saying I think why I'm confused is I've never thrown a Gazelle, and I keep forgetting like that 6-speed category. It really kind of, so if I think about the Crave, I've thrown the Crave plenty of times, and to me, when I would be like, oh, if I'm pulling out a fairway driver, I'm considering that Crave like fairway driver status is going to behave like that. Again, Gazelle I've never thrown, but when you keep coming back to the glidey comment, Robbie, I think I know where your head is for sure, and there's definitely a chasm there. Yeah. So as far as like a general flight, just like a flat backhand flight for both of these, I would say they both have a fair amount of glide. Definitely the MD3 has much more glide than the Barry. I feel like I could throw the MD3 very, very far and it stayed in the air longer than the Barry, although the Barry was not glidey. Just the MD3 for me was definitely a little more, stayed in the air a little bit more. I love the flight of the MD3. I always forget how much I like it until I throw it, because it's almost worked its way in my personal bag several times, because for me, like the C line, I can throw it hard. It just stays in the air, goes really straight. And then like that last like 40% of the flight has a very gentle fade, like nothing aggressive, just a very gentle, consistent fade. So like I always forget how much I like that. And I usually have, my hex and my nebula are like kind of right there and those slots together, depending on what's cycling in and out of my bag. The nebula typically has that type of flight for me, but it's maybe a little bit more overstable. The berry, when I threw the berry, it was more, I could get it would get a little flip, like a tiny like baby flip up. It would do the same thing, then glide for a long time, and that very last part of the flight would have a gentle fade. So, very similar flights. Again, MD3 is going farther for me and staying in the air longer, and I would say the gentle fade of the MD3 starts happening a little sooner and is like just a very gentle fade versus the berry being like more of a little pop up ride for a while and then a gentle fade at the end.
Okay. So how did they fly? And like looking at this, I don't think they necessarily need to be able to turn as much because I feel like the comet, like they're going to run into the wall
Right.
of the comet on the other
Mhm.
side. But I know, like, and seeing how you've described some of your shots, Spencer, you like a disc that's workable. Like you
Mhm.
want it to be able, it can't just be a stock shot. So
Mhm.
on the extreme ends of like extreme Hyzer and extreme Annie, did you
Mhm.
test those lines at all, Brad?
Yeah, I did. So Extreme Annie, I think the berry flew like expected, which it just kind of turned and kept turning actually. And depending on like the nose angle I gave it, like not on purpose, but the nose angle I gave it, it would have like a tick of comeback and fade at the end if I gave it like a little too much nose up. But it was very easy to get to turn. I don't feel like I had to give it like this crazy amount of anhyzer to get it to turn. MD3 again, I could turn it, but it would have some fade if I unless I gave it like an extreme amount of Annie, and then I risk like burning it into the ground, right? But it did have a bit of like I call it like a bit of pickup at the end, so it'll turn and then catch itself at the very end, which I liked. Extreme Hyzer, both flew like probably like you expect them. The thing I liked about the MD3 the most was it seemed like even though the MD3 had a tick, maybe I would consider tick more stability than the Berry. Like the MD3 really took the line that I gave it and kind of held it. So even like a high, more aggressive Hyzer line, it just kind of took that nice big horseshoe shape and just held it. It didn't want to like crash into the ground, so it didn't have like a bunch of overstability, but it wanted to like carry that shot shape out that I gave it the entire time. The Berry did about the same thing on Hyzer. It would want to flip a little bit if I hit it. I think just naturally I hit it a little harder if I'm trying to do a lot of Hyzer, and the Berry would want to flip up a little bit before it took that line, whereas the MD3 just kind of rode that out.
Mm. Okay. So in looking at these, it feels like you're leaning certainly in the direction of one
Mm-hmm.
versus another.
Yeah.
I what stands out to me about the MD3 specifically is that it's in that you said it's C-line plastic,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
which is, for lack of a better word, VIP ice.
Correct.
Like it is
Mhm.
the exact same plastic. So I think from a hand feel, I'm going to, oh man, like Spencer found this VIP ice bear and it hasn't left his bag ever since. So we know that like that plastic feels pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the MD3 could shine there. My question mark would be, Brad, do you think that like, do you see the work of when I'm looking at the Gazelle, right? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at, okay, he's throwing it on 200-foot low ceiling shots,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere 200 feet, but really realistically 280 to 310 is where he's like, oh yeah, open shot. Here's what I'm throwing this on. So you've thrown a premium plastic inner core a good bit. I'm assuming you've thrown a Comet before.
Yeah.
And you've not thrown too many pigs in your life, but seeing sort of what those discs can do on, let's say, a more open, not even more open, like slightly wooded line, 200 to 250,
Mm-hmm.
250, or we'll even say 230 to 280, like that 50-foot range.
Yeah.
Instead of having to throw like the nose up Hyzer Comet shot, is this a disc? Are either of these discs that you think could create options or make whatever the shot that you're trying to throw there easier than having to work something into that slot.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was going to say here is I think that for me, and this is me personally, so maybe people can relate to that. My danger, why I'll choose a mid range over like my envy a lot of the times is because I want to, I guess what I'm learning is I have a lot more chance of error if I throw a 85% power envy versus a like 60% power mid range. If I want the same flight, I can focus a little bit more on my release. I'm not just trying to kill it and make sure I get enough distance out of it. I think really either one of these could be that like 250. That's what I'm always thinking in my head from my mid ranges. If I can just get this 250 to 280 in that exact range, like this, that's where I'm really focusing on mids. And I think either one of these would be a great choice for that. And full disclosure, I came in to this discussion again. I don't see the bags beforehand. I really don't know a ton other than what Robbie said he wanted me to look at. I was fully ready to recommend the berry. My only hangup was I know that you like something deeper, and the berry is not as deep, but the berry does feel much more putter-ish than the MD3. The MD3 feels more like a mid-range in my hand personally. But the berry, I liked the berry because I knew you had a minimalist kind of bag. So my thought with the berry was, well, I guess theoretically you can get more shot shapes out of it, whereas the MD3 is kind of like I would cut it off at the. I wouldn't let it go past the neutral category unless it got really beat in. Now, coming back to your bag and your theory with like your race, you have 5 of those. What's cool about the MD3 over the berry? Sorry to carry this over into like a non-wooded shot discussion, but the berry, we don't have a lot of plastic options for that. It's still relatively new discs, that sort of thing. There are some options, but MD3, not only can you do the MD3 in C line and S line, they have some special runs you can find of it out there. Also, you can find like the Innova versions of the MD3 as well. And I know you, let's just call it, you're a classic guy. You like the Gazelle, you like some like older race there. You like the Comet. So I think you can find some, even just some enjoyment in that game as well. Cause let's admit it, that's part of it too. That's what's fun about it. Instead of saying, hey, this is MD3C line I just bought, they just released, you know, oh, I've got this one from, you know, X run, you know, that's fun. And that's part of the hunt. So, I worry about the berry in the wood scenario we're talking about. I worry about the berry in the Comet confusing your shot choice, like which one you want to make. Sounds like you're comfortable with your Comet, and then I think you can do the berry and the Comet could do similar stuff, although the berry is not as understable as the Comet. But what I do think is MD3 can give you a lot of like very just off the shelf, very neutral shapes with a little bit of gentle fade, which is, you know, we want that in the woods, right? And also I think it gives you some options for some controlled Hyzer shots, stock Hyzer shots in the woods. I think it also gives you some options for if you give it a touch of Annie, it'll still turn a little bit for you, but you know it's gonna like catch at the end and come back. So I think that that's my thought on that. Just again, learning about your disc choices and your game and the kind of shots you like to throw. I think the MD3 is going to do add to your bag with you having a minimalist bag anyway, versus like just add another disc to add another disc. Or again, we don't want to necessarily remove one if we don't have to, if you're comfortable with that shot.
Yeah. So that's a lot of information we're just throwing at you. Spencer, what are you thinking?
So I'm thinking through this and I'm hearing what you described, Brad, for the MD3 flight, very similar to an Envy flight, which I briefly bagged in that slot, and I just could not get over it slipping out of my hand. So it just like once I lost it, I like it was like one of those glow ones. So like once I lost it, I'm like, I'll just let it be in the river. So that the MD, I'm kind of leaning more to the MD3 because it sounds like the berry is going to kind of run into the brick wall that is the Comet.
Yeah. And we're not like when we bring people on and we do suggestions, everyone, like if people love a disc, like obviously everything we say, you don't have to do it. Like there's not like they signed some agreement to come on the podcast. All right. So here's the deal. No matter whether you love a disc or not, those internet guys are going to make you pull it out. Nah, You live the life you want to live. Enjoy the game that we're playing. Everything here is suggestions, but especially if someone like loves a shot, loves a disc, like the Comet, it's just kind of like living in its own world. You throw it really well, have some confidence, things like that. Like we want to always try to adapt our suggestions and work around that when we're moving through. So I completely agree that like the berry would confuse that shot selection. And so if you're willing to give the MD3 a chance, give it a try. And like Brad mentioned, I mean, MD3 is a classic mold. There are tons of variations of it. So if you're willing to give that a chance and come back on and let us know how it flies for you, we'd love to have you back on to see if it's a better envy.
Yeah, I'll come back on.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, we'll get this sent out to you. I'm excited. I'm especially excited to hear your feedback. I'm excited to hear everyone's feedback, but I'm especially excited to see yours because, I mean, admittedly, yours was a little bit harder of a suggestion to do, which we both enjoy. And it gives us like a kind of a mental exercise on like, okay, how do we help someone in this scenario? How do we add value to your bag when you have some very dialed, unique discs and shots? So we're glad to have you on, man. We will follow up with you soon, and you take care. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Brad, I guess like the biggest question that we got to ask is when's the next order of gazelles coming to the warehouse?
I'll just order them right now, man. They're just they're on their way. They're on their way. We got that G-Star Gazelle, the Champion Gazelle, Star Gazelle, Blizzard Gazelle, Halo Gazelle. Where are you at?
Dude, can you imagine like, okay, so Foundation like continues to grow. We all want that, especially those of us here in the call. We're a little invested in that. And so Foundation continues to grow. And like, I'm waiting for the first retail company to be like, all right, this is Joe. And Joe's job is to scour the internet and just find good deals on collector discs. And he just buys them, brings them in the warehouse, and then we turn them around and sell them online. Like,
yeah, it's just like, it's like Antique Roadshow, but for discs. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, well, yeah, that's coming to a theater near you for sure. Let's get that.
If you're Joe and you want to test run it, Brad at Foundation Discs, reach out to that guy.
If you're not Joe, I'm not answering the email. Just so you know, if you're Joe and you're a niche disc hunter, I feel like that's a niche enough request that I'll at least open the email.
Yeah. And even if your name's like Jerry or something, just sign it from Joe. It'll be great. So, Brad, I enjoyed that one.
Me too.
Like, you can see, like, you could see my struggle in trying to send you what discs to look at. And it makes me feel a little better. I don't know about you, but like, there was a breath of fresh air when he goes, oh, I used to have an Envy in that slot. And then,
I was like, okay, done. Send it out. Yep.
I was so ready for us to get to the end of that recommendation and be like, yeah, I just really don't think I'm ever going to throw that shot.
Well, here's my worry. My worry is always, I tried both those discs and I hate them. Like I'm waiting for that day. Now we've had people, obviously, I mean, there's only so many molds, but people will be like, oh, well, I've thrown disc X that you recommended. It's not really for me. So I'd really like to try the other one.
Yeah.
So like, that's fine. Perfectly fine. So, but I do think, once he made that Envy comment, I'm like, yes, this is the right disc for him. So.
Yeah. And thankfully we've like reworked the form several times. And so our form asks questions like, what part of your bag are you most confident in? What part of your bag are you least confident in? Because usually the least confident pieces we will be able to line up and like, that is definitely where we need to focus on. Or if your bag is like, seems like it's okay, that gives us a target area. And another question that we ask is like, what discs have you tried before that you absolutely did not like? And so like, he's got like the Insanity and the Maverick on his list as discs that did not like. And I completely agree with, honestly, both of those. Come at me, internet. But like, I get it. And so that's where we try to hopefully to avoid those situations. But absolutely, like, there are discs that we all have. You know what? Let's let that be the thing that drives you to the comments. What's the discs that like, there are the obvious ones where you tried this and you don't like it, whatever. But what's the disc that sometimes like someone mentions it and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of hate that disc. Like, it does not fly well for me. So let's see those in the comments. So that way people can just be like, that's a bummer. If you have any extras, I'll buy them from you.
Yeah,
it'll be
right.
turned into a little disc marketplace. Joe's looking down here already. So
Right.
what's your first
Mine's
assignment?
the T-bird, and it's not. I don't hate the T-bird. Let's just be clear.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. Like every time it releases from my hand, it does not feel good, and I'm like, man. And every time I see it and I see the flight numbers and hear people talking about it, I'm like, man, I need to try that again. And then I grab it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't love this.
Yeah. To me, it's the Raptor. Like
Yeah.
with adding the stalkers into my bag, I could easily flip my whole fairway slot to be all Discraft. But I just can't seem to throw the Raptor well. And I've tried so many different plastics of that thing at this point, and every time I'm like, huh, not it for me. So love to see it. But these are all discs that are fantastic, which takes us to what's new in the warehouse, sponsored by the one and only today, Flippy Discs.
Yep, appreciate it, Flippy. Make sure you check out the link in the code in the description. Get yourself a little goodies on us. So yeah, and there's always new stuff going on there. Aaron's reworking the site. Aaron's also doing a monthly T-shirt release. So make sure you check that out. You have to join Club Flippy. All you got to do is just add your email in there. You get a newsletter, but he's doing a monthly release of a special shirt. They are amazing so far. I've purchased both of them. He doesn't know that, but I had to have them. So he's doing great work over there. Obviously, all the Robbie C collections there, the Foundation collections there, the In the Bag collections there. Make sure you support all your favorite creators and podcasts, and check out Flippy Disc Golf. Thanks, Aaron, for that.
And the support you give. I just want to add this in. The support y'all give, because I know we got our faithful episode 56ers. The support you give just makes our episode 56 jersey all the more possible, because then we're like, hey, people are actually interested in this. So
yeah. And also, we're going to do another comment call out here in the comments. If you want the episode 56 all-star jersey, let us know. Let's make it happen. Put it in the comments. Let Aaron, let Flippy know. Adam, say, hey, we need the episode 56. We need that jersey. So, so warehouse this week, we've got some interesting stuff happening. So if you are listening to this, it is past time. So hopefully you caught it and you subscribe to our other socials. And we're doing our Halloween Lozado pre-order on Friday at 5 p.m. So if you didn't catch that, pause the episode right now. Go look. Hopefully there's a few left. If you haven't seen it, it's incredible. They have the Lozado, the axolotl, and different little Halloween costumes. I love it. It's incredible. There's also a nomad with a glow rim. There's a cool I think it's a proxy, if I'm not mistaken, that's a dual glow. So there's a couple different eclipse discs. A crave, I forgot about the crave,
the R2 crave. So you got like a black crave with recycled, different colored glow rims,
like blue, green. It's pretty legit. So make sure, very limited quantity, make sure you hit that pre-order. Let's make sure that you get one. I know a lot of places are sold out already. We held ours back on purpose to make sure everyone had access. So check that out. Also, Ledgestone Wave 4 final wave dropped this week. There are a few of those discs left, so make sure you check those out. Let's see, Trilogy had a release this week. We also put up some additional Trilogy. So there's like Opto Air Pures. There's I'm trying to remember what the drops were. Shout out to Trilogy for doing a drop basically every week with different crazy plastics. I mean, it does get fun after a while. It's Revive Underworld's the big one, Supreme Fugitive. So those were some of the bigger releases this week. Again, we put up some other stuff from Trilogy. So there's new Discraft up as well, or restocks of Discraft up. We had some lobsters go up as well, Sublime Lobsters.
Come on.
Again, there towels. We have our towel restock is in, so we have our black towels back in, a very popular thing. We also have a new gray and black and white towel, so check that out. Ripped Revenge is back in stock. Ripped Showdown is back in stock. Ripped deck cases are back in stock, and the Ripped bundles that comes with a case, Ripped Revenge, Ripped Showdown, and 3 booster packs of Ripped Evolution. So make sure you check all of those things out. Your best friend, as always, is recently restocked on our website. It's the first thing that pops up when you go to foundationdisc.com, and you can scroll through and see all the new stuff that is always every day updating on what is new in the warehouse, not just on Fridays on In the Bag, but every day you can check out what's new in the warehouse and recently restocked.
Yeah. If you have wanted to play Ripped Revenge and you're like, I just find it really cumbersome, the case 100% game changer.
Mhm.
Like, it is. Now that I just got my new car, I have a little more room in my cab and things like that.
Heck yeah.
And one of the first things that I did is I have like this one random like storage area. And Lindsay was looking at me like, what are we going to put down there? And I was like, oh, I got some stuff I'm about to put down there. And Rip Revenge, literally my case of Rip Revenge was the first thing I put in that area, because it was like, now I just have it to carry along with me. And it's super easy, clips onto your bag. Cannot recommend it enough. So good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And also, let's plug one more thing. It is, I guess tomorrow's the 25th. So it's the 25th of August. There's only a few days left for the monthly subscription box. If you have not heard, you have not seen the leaks, the lives, the posts, what is this month's box, Robbie, for our subscription box?
It's me. It's a Robbie C box.
Yeah,
we got,
exactly.
Guys, it is obviously, one of the discs. It's a pig. And it's like, the best way I can describe it is a Chick-fil-A inspired pig. And then when I heard like the real story, even Hunter putting it behind like in the warehouse preview. So for those of you who don't follow my channel specifically, me and two other lovely individuals, we are getting pig tattoos because they qualified for for a national tournament. And so we're getting pig tattoos to celebrate. It's going to be fantastic. And so the stamp is a pig who got a Robbie C tattoo, which is hilarious. So we got that.
Epic.
Two other molds that I absolutely love and think way more people should bag. And one of those, I'll just say, Discraft didn't have them for sale, and we got them. So, yeah, thanks, Bob. And so we got those hooked up. And then the swag item is one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yep. Very
Super
specific item to Robbie. Very cool item. We've never done one of these, I don't believe. No, we haven't done anything like this. So make sure you check it out. And hey, again, if you heard it on In the Bag and you're like, man, I need to get the subscription box thing rolling, leave it in the order notes. We'll throw in an In the Bag sticker for you. We want to know that you heard it here. It lets us know that you support us. It lets us know that, hey, someone's listening to the cool stuff we're saying about what's in the warehouse. And ultimately, whether it goes, whether it's good, you keep it on your bag, clipped on your bag, the disc in your bag. Make sure you check it out at foundationdisc.com. We will see you all next week.